little Tyler McCaw is enjoying life in Oklahoma with his siblings and parents.
It's a penguin! Yeah, penguin. That's right.
But this baby has already been through a lot and pulled through like a champ.
Welcome back to CBS This Morning. The top Democratic presidential contenders came out swinging in a fiery, contentious debate in Las Vegas last night. Former New York City Mayor Mike Bloomberg was on stage for the first time after surging in recent polls. It took just seconds for his rivals to take him on.
I'd like to talk about who we're running against. A billionaire who calls women fat broads and horse-faced lesbians. And no, I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about Mayor Bloomberg.
We are giving a voice to people who are saying we are sick and tired of billionaires like Mr. Bloomberg seeing huge expansions of their wealth while 500,000 people sleep out on the street tonight.
I've been told many times to wait my turn and to step aside. And I'm not going to do that now, and I'm not going to do that because a campaign memo from Mayor Bloomberg said this morning that the only way that we get a nominee is if we step aside for him.
Bloomberg was attacked on a variety of issues. He had a tense exchange with Elizabeth Warren after Bloomberg said he would not release former employees from non-disclosure agreements related to alleged harassment and discrimination.
So, Mr. Mayor, are you willing to release all of those women from those non-disclosure agreements so we can hear their side of the story?
We're not going to throw out capitalism. We tried that. Other countries tried that. It was called communism, and it just didn't work.
I believe in capitalism, but I think the goal of someone in government and a president of the United States should be a check on that.
Democrats take a huge risk if we just substitute one arrogant billionaire for another.
If they've got to choose between a socialist who thinks that capitalism is the root of all evil and a billionaire who thinks that money ought to be the root of all power, let's put forward somebody who actually lives and works in a middle-class neighborhood.
And if there are a few people who make ugly remarks, who attack trade union leaders, I disown those people. They are not part of our movement.
Look, I'm running because so many people are being left behind.
Up on the presidential stage, already spending millions and rising in the polls, but hoping to find a foothold in the race for the White House. So how do you do? We go straight now to ABC News political director Rick Klein.
Byron, any swagger that Mike Bloomberg might have had coming into the debate faded under harsh attacks on his record, on his wealth, on his treatment of women. Yes, he defended himself, but this was by far the Democrats' feistiest debate, and it reflects real anxieties and even angst about the state of this race. Mike Bloomberg and Senator Bernie Sanders now look like the best positioned candidates to go the distance, and that has a lot of Democrats worried about what that says about the party. As a result, the candidates just flat out unloading on each other this evening. Byron?
Thank you, Rick. We now turn to ABC's David Wright, breaking down the highlights on and off the Democratic debate stage, with the frontrunner facing heat for some of his supporters, accused of bad behavior.
Tonight in Las Vegas, a new contender right in the line of fire.
Democrats take a huge risk if we just substitute one arrogant billionaire for another.
I don't think you look at Donald Trump and say we need someone richer in the White House.
For the first time, billionaire businessman Mike Bloomberg was there on stage at this NBC debate, dodging the incoming.
The mayor says that he has a great record. He has not managed his city very, very well when he was there.
Bloomberg has been rising in the polls, having spent more than $400 million of his own money, mostly on advertising. That makes him a formidable player.
They've been sitting out here for 10 months, 12 months, raising money, persuading people, going to caucuses, and all of a sudden he just wants to drop in.
I'm a New Yorker. I know how to take on an arrogant con man like Donald Trump that comes from New York.
Billionaires today, if you can believe it, have an effective tax rate lower than the middle class.
Senator,
So maybe
you're
just
the tax code. Why are you complaining? Who wrote the code?
You did. You and your campaign.
99 senators.
You and your camp, not me.
He has to prove himself and welcome to the NBA, so he'll get that treatment.
This is ridiculous. We're not going to throw out capitalism. We tried that. Other countries tried that. It was called communism, and it just didn't work.
Tonight, plenty of sharp elbows on display, with Senator Elizabeth Warren in particular going on offense.
Mayor Buttigieg really has a slogan that was thought up by his consultants to paper over a thin version of a plan that would leave millions of people unable to afford their health care. It's not a plan, it's a PowerPoint. And Amy's plan is even less. It's like a Post-it note.
I'm more of a Microsoft Word guy.
I take personal offense since Post-it notes were invented in my state.
Senator Amy Klobuchar and Mayor Pete Buttigieg went at it tooth and nail.
If you're going to run based on your record of voting in Washington, then you have to own those votes, especially when it comes to immigration.
I wish everyone was as perfect as you, Pete.
Democrats have yet to settle on a moderate candidate.
If we just substitute one arrogant billionaire for another.
Warren also in Las Vegas, the gloves coming off quickly. The candidates piling on newcomer, former Mayor Michael Bloomberg, Senator Elizabeth Warren leading the charge.
Democrats take a huge risk if we just substitute one arrogant billionaire for another.
Warren also slamming Bloomberg for his alleged history of sexist remarks in the workplace.
A billionaire who calls women fat broads and horse-faced lesbians. And no, I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about Mayor Bloomberg.
Bloomberg trying to downplay the matter.
None of them accused me of doing anything other than maybe they didn't like a joke I told.
Warren calling on Bloomberg to be more transparent.
Mr. Mayor, are you willing to release all of those women from those non-disclosure agreements so we can hear their side of the story?
There's agreements between two parties that wanted to keep it quiet, and that's up to them. They signed those agreements, and we'll live with it.
Also under a microscope, Bloomberg's support of a controversial policing policy when he was mayor, which he has apologized for.
Mr. Bloomberg had policies in New York City of stop and frisk, which went after African-American and Latino people in an outrageous way.
When I discovered